Surrendering to God isn't easy. In fact, it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do in your walk with Him. It goes against everything inside us that craves control. We live in a world that teaches us to hold on tightly, to be in charge, to make decisions based on our desires, and to trust our wisdom over anyone else's. We're taught that success is about doing it ourselves, managing everything and making sure that no one can tell us what to do. When it comes to surrendering to God, there's a natural resistance. We fight to hold on to our plans, our desires, and our own way of doing things. We want to control the outcome, choose the path, and make the decisions. We want to say, "I got this," when in reality we don't. It feels safer to cling to what we know, even if it's not God's best. We want to make our own choices, take credit for our successes, and hide our fears behind self-sufficiency. But then we come to a point where we realize that the more we cling to control, the more we lose control. Our peace, our joy, and sometimes even our direction. But when you truly surrender to God, something profound begins to happen. You realize that surrender doesn't mean giving up control. It means handing it over to the one who can be trusted with it. Instead of holding on tighter, you open your hands to Him and say, "God, I trust you with what I can't control." At first, this feels like losing something. It may feel like fear, uncertainty, and even doubt creeping in. What will happen if I let go? What will I lose? But the question is this: will you trust God with what you can't control? The very thing that you're afraid to release might be the very thing that God is asking you to surrender so He can replace it with something greater. Surrendering doesn't mean you're weak. It's not about being passive or giving in to your fears. Surrendering is an act of strength, not weakness. It's a bold decision to say, "God, I know that I can't do this on my own, but I trust you to do it through me." It's a declaration that God's wisdom is greater than your own. It's a confession that His plans for your life are better than anything you could have designed for yourself. You're choosing to say, "God, I trust your timing. I trust your guidance. I trust your love." Surrender is not about admitting defeat. It's about accepting victory in God. It's about stepping aside and letting God take the wheel of your life, knowing that He will guide you better than you ever could on your own. When you surrender to God, you experience a deeper peace. You begin to realize that true control isn't about making your own choices. It's about allowing God to lead you, knowing that He is more than capable to guide you where you need to go. And so the question remains, will you surrender the control you've been holding so tightly onto? Will you trust God with your plans, your future, your relationships, and your life? True surrender isn't about losing. It's about gaining a closer relationship with the one who holds it all together. When you surrender to God, you step into the freedom of knowing that you don't have to do it all by yourself. When you finally let go and surrender to God, something incredibly powerful happens. You experience peace, a peace like no other. But this peace isn't the kind that comes from having everything figured out, from having your circumstances in perfect order. It's not the kind of peace that happens when all the problems go away or when life settles into a comfortable routine. This peace is deeper, stronger, and unshakable. It's the peace that only comes when you place your trust fully in God. It's a peace that transcends your understanding. It doesn't make sense in the natural world because everything around you may still be chaotic. But inside you feel calm. You feel secure knowing that God is in control. As Philippians 4 verse 7 says, "And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." This peace isn't just a temporary relief or a passing emotion. It's divine peace. It guards your heart and mind like a protective shield, blocking out the anxiety, fear, and confusion that once ruled your thoughts. It's the kind of peace that settles your soul, even when circumstances seem uncertain. When you surrender, you stop striving to control every situation. You stop trying to fix everything and worry about every outcome. Instead, you lean into God's sovereignty. And with that, you experience a peace that says, even if things aren't perfect, I'm okay. God is with me, and that's enough. Suddenly, you realize that you don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders anymore. You're not alone in this. When you surrender, God takes over the burden. You no longer carry the weight of your worries, your failures, or your future. God takes it all. He is the one who strengthens you, guides you, and holds you up. You don't have to carry the pressure to figure it all out. His strength becomes your strength. When you feel weak, His power flows through you. When you don't know what to do, His wisdom becomes your compass. And when life feels uncertain, His love becomes your anchor, keeping you grounded no matter what storm you face. The peace that comes from surrender is the peace of knowing that God has it under control. You don't need to have all the answers or understand the full picture. What you need is to trust Him, and that trust brings you an inner peace that the world can't give you. When you surrender, you make a choice to rest in God's faithfulness. It's like taking a deep breath after holding it in for too long. The weight of worry is lifted off and you can breathe again. This peace is a spiritual rest, a rest for your soul. It doesn't come from avoiding the struggles, but from knowing that God will never leave you in them. That rest is the peace that comes from knowing that God is with you no matter what. In the midst of your surrender, you will find a peace that stays. A peace that isn't dependent on everything going your way, but a peace that's founded on the unshakable truth that God is in control and He is good. This peace will guard your heart, giving you courage to face each day, no matter what it brings, knowing that you don't walk alone. True surrender doesn't just change your mind, it changes your entire life. When you truly surrender, you let go of the plans and dreams you've been holding on to and you give God control. At first, it might feel like you're losing something. You may even feel vulnerable or uncertain about what comes next. But when you surrender, you step into something far greater than anything you could have orchestrated on your own. You step into God's purpose for your life. Surrender isn't about giving up. It's about aligning yourself with God's greater plan. Suddenly, you begin to live with meaning. Not just existing, but living with a purpose that's far bigger than your own. You begin to realize that your life isn't just about you. It's about God working in you and through you to impact the world around you. When you surrender, you see your circumstances differently. The struggles, the challenges, the obstacles that once seemed pointless now make sense. You start to see them through God's eyes, as tools He's using to shape and prepare you. Every moment of your life, the good and the bad, has a purpose in His plan. You realize that your pain, your past, your successes, all of it is being woven together by God for a greater divine purpose. You also start to see your gifts differently. The talents, skills, and passions you have aren't just there for your personal gain. They're given to you by God to serve His kingdom. Your life becomes about more than your own desires and goals. It's about using your gifts to build others up, to reflect God's love, and to bring glory to Him. When you surrender, you stop looking at your life through the lens of self-centeredness and begin to see through God's lens. A lens that is focused on love, service, and purpose. You may begin to understand that everything you go through has a reason. Even the painful experiences and the moments of waiting. God is not wasting any part of your journey. He's using it to prepare you for the purpose He's called you to. Your story, your unique story, is part of His plan, and every chapter is being written by His hand. In surrender, you stop fighting against God's will. Instead of resisting or trying to take control, you begin to flow with God's plan. You align your steps with His, trusting that He will equip you for everything He's calling you to do. It's no longer about trying to figure it all out on your own. It's about trusting Him completely, knowing that He has a plan for your life that's better than anything you could imagine. You start to live out His calling step by step, knowing that He will provide everything you need along the way: strength, wisdom, peace, and purpose. True surrender doesn't mean life will be easy, but it does mean that you will be walking in God's will, and there's no greater place to be. You'll face challenges, but now you have God's strength to face them. You'll encounter doubts, but now you have God's assurance to overcome them. And through it all, you'll experience His peace, knowing that you are living in alignment with His divine purpose for your life. If you're ready to stop fighting and start living in the purpose God has for you, then it's time to surrender. Let go of your plans and trust God with the direction of your life. Ask Him to fill you with His purpose, His peace, and His power. Don't wait until everything feels perfect. Step out in faith now, knowing that God is with you every step of the way. Let this be the moment when you truly surrender and begin to live a life full of meaning, purpose, and God's glory. God has great things planned for you. Are you ready to step into His calling?